Ben Simmons.
Let's go home! Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen! Let's go home! Let's go home! Let's go home! Yes, indeed! Okay.
That made me take the headset off.
Time to go. Wait.
Oh my God.
Let's go home! 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 We're getting out of here! Take your jackets off! Let's go home! That's what I'm talking about! That's what I'm talking about! Kevin Hart. Okay. Stop it.
Out of every team in the NBA thus far, there's been no team that has made more moves and more changes than the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think they may have figured out what was holding their team back with their most recent hire. Now, before we get to the content, guys, I wanted to let you know that today's your final opportunity to purchase a piece of Mike Mafia merch before our drop goes offline. I wanted to thank everyone that supported our first ever merch drop on this website. And if you didn't get an opportunity to purchase a piece of merch, it's at TheFlightMike.com. The moment you purchase it, send me a tweet. If you want, I could sign your merch as well because it's our very first edition. And on top of that, we're going to be live streaming on twitch.tv/FlightMike later on today. This is where I usually play Among Us with subscribers and, just chill with the people that want to talk to me the most. This is probably the best opportunity to communicate and talk to me on the regular. Now that I've got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, I've been getting tweets and Instagram comments asking me where I was over the past 5 days. Going from daily uploading to only uploading once since Friday is absolutely terrifying. Well, let me tell you guys, I am alive. I actually have an NFL channel that I also upload to, and I usually decide which news and which content's the most important to get out there and pick between these two channels. If you want to subscribe to my NFL channel, it's called Microphone. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below, but really I saw nothing that was newsworthy to report to you guys, and that's why I haven't uploaded on this channel for quite some time. And I know 5 days is considered to be like, typical spacing between videos for some content creators, but I try to get you guys content each and every day. Well, today there was some news that was actually worth making content on, as the Philadelphia 76ers have just hired by far probably the best executive left on the market in Daryl Morey. Now, this entire hire is fairly interesting, and we're going to dive into why it's interesting. But first, we have to give you the official report from the man, the myth, the legend, Adrian Wojnarowski himself. He reported initially that the Sixers are in advanced talks on a deal to hire Daryl Morey to oversee the franchise's basketball operations, sources tell ESPN. Now, eventually he reported that a deal is to be expected to be finalized in the next few days, and Elton Brand is expected to remain as general manager. These conversations have been going all the way back from the minute Daryl Morey stepped down during his tenure in Houston, and now he's officially the Sixers' new president. Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey have a strong relationship and history together. Now, here's the interesting thing to me. First of all, shout out to Daryl Morey for following us on Twitter. If Daryl Morey could follow me on Twitter, then you freaking could follow me on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. That aside, the interesting thing about this is, and I tweeted this out earlier today, is the fact that Doc Rivers supposedly got fired from the Los Angeles Clippers job because apparently he ignored a huge analytic from Steve Ballmer's super expensive, pricey analytics team that suggested in the Western Conference semifinals when they went up against the Denver Nuggets that whenever Montrezl Harrell was on the floor, the Clippers were a -30 net rating against the starting five of the Denver Nuggets. When Montrezl Harrell was substituted out for Ivica Zubac, then the Los Angeles Clippers were something like plus 11.9. Steve Ballmer was apparently really upset that Doc Rivers ignored that and fired him. And that's one of the many rumors as to why Doc Rivers got fired. There's also that other rumor about, something to do with his daughter dating Paul George a while ago. I'm going to leave a link to that in the end screen so you guys can check it out. But the reason why I think this is such an interesting fit is because Doc Rivers got fired for ignoring a huge analytic, and Daryl Morey literally swears by an analytics Bible. Now, here's the reason why this is so significant, and this is what I'm going to start throwing some rumors at you guys that I've seen online that I think officially makes sense to start drawing the conclusion to. No, I don't think James Harden's going to get traded to the Sixers. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I don't really think it's part of Daryl Morey's MO to go out and get his old love child and bring him to a new team with him and just make the Sixers the new version of the Houston Rockets, because the Sixers are going to be significantly different than the Houston Rockets, because when Daryl Morey was on the Houston Rockets, he was operating on a huge handicap. He was not really allowed to dip into the luxury tax, nor was he really allowed to tank. He didn't really have that many assets to deal with either. He made lemonade out of the lemons that were handed to him. And what he was able to do with the Houston Rockets, despite not being able to go over the luxury tax, is very, very impressive in my opinion. And I feel like some of the moves he made towards the latter part of his career was mainly out of desperation. Like when James Harden didn't really like playing with Chris Paul, I guess he just chucked a Hail Mary and brought in Russell Westbrook, although that was contradictory to his belief of analytics and just shooting threes all day for the most part. That's pretty much the best way I can explain Morey's analytics. He feels like shooting the two is a very inefficient jump shot, and your odds of making a three are so much greater that you might as well just shoot threes all day and have good shooters on your team. Which brings me to my favorite rumor. You see, I saw earlier today that the Minnesota Timberwolves are interested in moving on from the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. And I understand that this trade could be a little zany and it could be a little wild, but bear with me because I think it makes a lot of sense, especially now that Daryl Morey is in town. Ben Simmons is notorious for being an abysmal three-point shooter, and as a matter of fact, he is so freaking abysmal that he doesn't even attempt threes in his game at all. He's averaged 0.1 three-point field goal attempts per game every single year of his career, and that probably screams terror to Daryl Morey because, well, Daryl Morey loves threes. And Daryl Morey's inheriting a team that has Al Horford and Ben Simmons on it, which Al Horford's a horrific contract, and you also have Ben Simmons. And by the way, I don't expect Elton Brand to be general manager past this year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some sort of Rob Pelinka, Magic Johnson dynamic going between them, but I digress. Since Ben Simmons is absolutely unable to shoot threes and has shown absolutely no improvement in his ability to shoot threes throughout his entire career, well, I don't see the Sixers holding on to him. It's a huge contradiction to the way Daryl Morey likes to play basketball, and I don't expect Daryl Morey to completely shift this philosophy automatically. That just wouldn't make much sense. There's a reason why the Sixers brought in Daryl Morey, and that's so they can have a more analytics-based approach. Daryl Morey's greatest two assets, without a doubt, are Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, but Joel Embiid actually fits into the offense that he would try to build. I don't think Ben Simmons would. The Timberwolves were rumored to want to trade for Ben Simmons a while ago because him and D'Angelo Russell go way back. They'd rather have an established star than draft Lamelo Ball or Anthony Edwards, which makes a lot of sense because Lamelo Ball or Anthony Edwards would need to develop a little bit. I don't really think that the Timberwolves want to wait on that. They'd rather have an established star or a player that's further along in his development. Ben Simmons and D'Angelo Russell played with each other in high school. Apparently, they're very fond of each other, and I think he has a good relationship with Karl Anthony Towns as well. Bear in mind, this is a little out there. I'm just predicting this, and the basis of my prediction makes sense, and if you disagree, let me know in the comment section down below. I feel like the Sixers are going to trade Ben Simmons to the Minnesota Timberwolves in return for a draft pick, the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and then draft Lamelo Ball. And the reason for that is Lamelo Ball is cheaper. Lamelo Ball fills the position of need that Ben Simmons has. Lamelo Ball could also shoot threes. And Lamelo Ball also gives the Philadelphia 76ers a little bit more of a window to tinker. And they're not exactly rebuilding with this move, but they are retooling and they are changing their direction just a little bit. I feel like LaMelo Ball would also fit in with Joel Embiid a little bit better. I feel like this trade's a home run for both sides. The Sixers get to adapt to the scheme that they would want to be in a little bit more, and the Minnesota Timberwolves would finally have the big three that they've wanted and would probably be the most competitive that they've ever been since having Kevin Garnett on the roster. Now, bear in mind, I'm not basing this rumor off of anything. This is just something I'm proposing. This is just something that makes a lot of sense to me. I expect a lot of moves to be made like this to completely change the way the Sixers look, to make them a little bit more, for lack of a better term, Morey-like. But trade rumors aside, this was by far the greatest hire that the Sixers made. This was a better hire than hiring Doc Rivers. This was probably a franchise-altering hire for the Philadelphia 76ers. And, oh, by the way, Daryl, if you're watching this, I would love to come and intern for you. I'll happily move to Philadelphia, so just give me a call. Let me know what you guys think about the Sixers hiring Daryl Morey. Aside from that, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.